Hello. Dutogo Mkiba here from Mkiba Law Inc. Welcome to the Legal Minds podcast today. We are sitting here with Lindiwe again.
I'm back.
You're back. As we said, we'd have her back again to discuss or to continue from where we left off the last time. We have an episode. We titled it HouseIt. HouseIt. That was the part 1. This will be HouseIt part 2, right? I just thought that it was a very interesting conversation that we had, and I think it's a conversation a lot of people should be having when it comes to purchasing of properties. So I thought, okay, let's have a part 2. Let's finish off where we left off the last time, and then dive into something that's more practical for your work, from your work side, your work
Just
experience.
Going a little bit deeper, I guess.
Anyways, yeah. So, So thank you for joining us again today on this Friday morning.
Thank you for having me again. Well, afternoon. It's already lunchtime.
It's already lunchtime, yeah. Yes, and we are going to continue from where we left off.
Yeah.
I just wrote down some questions here on a notepad. I actually found this notepad at my last event. Yeah, someone there left it there.
Oh,
like
okay.
I think it's a dear diary. So when I can't sleep, I just read.
What did they write?
Oh man, the secret's here. Yeah, but anyways,
whoever left it, we know your secrets.
We know your secrets. Yeah. No. Okay. So we're discussing property transactions, right? And also more specifically to the beginning stages of buying a property. I think we spoke about everything else. I think people can just watch that video again to catch up, catch themselves up. So I want to talk specifically now about the OTP stage, right? Which is an offer to purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you just give us some pointers in terms of what to look out for in this document called the OTP?
Within the buying process, when you're purchasing property, one of the first legal documents that you come across is the OTP, which is the offer to purchase. It's exactly that. It's now you offering the sellers, your offer to buy this property. So you come in with whatever amount versus what they were asking for. So they have their asking price. They can say they're looking for 1.5 million. You come in with your offer, and that's what gets written into your offer to purchase to the seller. Now there's a number, because this document is legally binding, there's a number of things that we all have to sort of look out for. And I'll just briefly touch on this, which is number 1, just always be sure that the offer that you're making is the actual property. So the address, and not just the street address, the erf number needs to match on that OTP. So you need to make sure that you do read that OTP. If you feel intimidated by the document, do consult with some legal assistance, because as mentioned, it is legally binding. Whatever is going to be put on there, you will be held liable for whatever funds or monies that need to come out from there. So on the OTP, number 1, the location, does it match where you were? So if you went and you were at 77 Robbie Street, right? It needs to say 77 Robbie Street, and also the AF number. So the AF number is more kind of like the government name of the property. Yeah. So it will be AF 2109 or something like that. Okay. And that needs to be there on that offer to purchase. One of the other things as well that I tend to ask people with the offer to purchase, always ask for your municipality statements, which you can then verify said address. What also appears on that municipality statement is the size of the property, which is crucial, right? Because on the ad, you'll probably find they'll say, oh, okay, this is the property, it's 900 square meters. And when you look at the municipality statement, it's actually 700 and square meters. So now you're buying less property for the monies that they've asked for.
Yeah.
So you need to check such things with regards to the OTP.
So size does matter.
Size does matter. Yes. You need to verify.
Yes.
And as mentioned, your municipality statement will actually state that because it does give you the actual size of the property. And what the municipality statement also does do is it gives you information with regards to any servitude. So servitudes would be, yes, this is your land, all 1,000 square meters of it, but a portion, say maybe 150 or 200 square meters of it is servitude, meaning that's where government facilities are running through your property. So in future, should government want to do any works and stuff like that, they can use that servitude to service the pipes or whatever is running there, whether it's electrical or sanitation, then they have access to that. You cannot build on that portion of the property. That is very important. So also finding out your boundary lines on the property is very crucial, which brings us to the other part, which is the zoning. So in zoning, will then specify to say your property has to be within certain so many meters, maybe like a meter. Usually if it's just a one-story building, it's usually a meter or 1.5 meters away from your boundary or your perimeter wall. If you're going to go up, it can be anything from 1.5 to 2 meters to 3 meters, just depending on your surroundings. So it does matter. Is your surroundings a main street or road, as a public road, or do you have neighbors next to you and so forth? Because sure, I'll get into this a little bit more deeper at another stage, but those are some of the details that you need to find out. The zoning also lets you know density in terms of how much you can actually build on the property. So it will give you parameters. It's called FAR. So it's an aspect ratio of the property. So if you've got 1,000 square meters of property and your FAR is 60%, right? You can only build on 60% of that property. So meaning of that 1,000 square meters, you can build only up to 600 square meters of that property. The rest needs to be left as per the regulations of zoning. So also zoning will stipulate what can and can't be built onto that property, or what sort of businesses or what sort of building that can be. So whether it's a special building in terms of like it's a school or it's a business. So the zoning will tell you what is permitted on that property, which I think a lot of people are missing these days. And this is what government is recently actually cracking down. So guys, when you actually before you're signing your OTPs, those are one of the things that you need to actually factor in.
I'm sure it gets tricky when I'm sure it's happened a few times when you buy a property and you upon further investigation, some of your neighbor's land is on your land, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the wall, instead of it being here, it's over there, you know what I'm saying? So what happens then?
I mean, sure.
It becomes illegal. Like
it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, if you're polite enough and you've got your zoning certificate, which then it will have the diameters or the of your property to say from point A to B, your property should be this many meters and so forth. It literally does have what we call a site development plan. So it's just an overview of this is where your pegs for your property are. If it needs to come into dispute, then unfortunately that's when you then get into, let's say you do say to your neighbor, hey, you've encroached on my land by like a meter into my property, and I've just measured this and so forth. So you do have to engage municipality first, because sometimes, you do find that whenever you do what architects would pull as it's called a GIS, which basically shows the parameters of each property. Sometimes those were so old that the lines are, but if you might check everybody, the lines are a bit skew with everybody. So yours might be a little bit further onto the road or something like that. Then you just need to go to municipality and just verify. And what then they'll do is they'll send you a land surveyor. I think it is a very small fee that you can pay to the land surveyor. They come and they do pegging.
Yeah.
Once the land surveyor has come into your property and done the pegging, there's no disputing that. If your neighbor's property has encroached by 1 meter, 2 meters, and they just happen to have built any properties on there, that property is going down. Unless you're being lenient, which I think you should not be, because coming in future, if you ever want to sell that property,
it's going to be minus.
And that buyer is actually smart enough to check such things, you'll then have an issue to try sell your property at that point. So you do need to check those things. Your zoning's certifications and documents actually will then stipulate whose property ends where and starts where. Yeah.
Is pegging that thing with those guys with it's like a wheel and it's
no,
like
pegging is like literally they stick like a rebar with like a flag on it and stuff like that, and they'll show you.
Okay.
So the thing is, we do actually have pegging. So previously when they were doing town planning, right, there would be, I'm pretty sure some people have seen it, like it's like a concrete it's like a little concrete mount that has like a color on it.
Okay.
And it usually would designate like this is the corner of the street and that street, or this property and that property. But unfortunately, like with over time and like land, soil and all of that, they were not that big or that long. They get covered, or when people build, they just ride over those things and stuff like that, and just people assume like it means nothing. But that's the original pegging that was there. But unfortunately, people don't always, keep that. There's very few houses that I've seen that still have those pegging. Usually you'll find it if it's like land. If you're buying land, then it tends to be a little bit more obvious, but not always, because there's so much land to cover.
Very true. Very true. Another I think that we should just touch on a little bit on the OTP. There'll be, most of the times, there'll be a mention of the attorneys that will be attending to the transfers. To the transfer. The question would be, those attorneys, why is it very important to know who the attorneys are?
Okay, so before we jump into the attorneys, now you've spotted the house, you want to buy the house, you like the price, y'all agree, and you've checked your zoning, you've checked everything, and you're ready to sign the offer to purchase and stuff like that. So now starts the process where now the attorneys get involved, right? And the transfer attorneys, well, there's different attorneys, you being one of them, right? And one question came. I mean, I posted on my WhatsApp, on my business WhatsApp, to ask people, like, what would you like me to speak about on this podcast? And one of the questions was, why are they so expensive? Why are you paying so much and why are there so many lawyers to pay? There's a whole legal process in how we transfer. It's regulated, how we move property from one owner to the next owner. And essentially that's what you're paying for. There needs to be that regulation, because all of this goes into documentation. It goes onto the records for municipality, your title deeds and so forth. So the attorneys are then the overseers to make sure that this is done legally and this is done under regulation. So you are paying for their services and their time to actually look into those documents and so forth. And I think also some of the mistakes or some of the things could be spotted there, although it's not necessarily the attorney's responsibilities to make sure that what you signed for in the OTP matches what they're transferring to you. That still remains on your part. So we've got the transferring attorneys, and their job is literally to transfer ownership from one to the other. So that application begins. But in tandem, the other application that begins now is the bond attorneys. So they're the people that would now register your bond if you are then buying the property with the bond. They would then now register your bond. If in regards to your seller, they have a bond, they also have a bond attorney that will then deregister or cancel their bond in order for you now to take over this property with your bond and so forth. And then, I guess you can then explain the other attorneys, because even I, guys, as much as I'm in this, I'm like, why do we need so many of them? Why can't it just be maybe the bond attorneys and the transfer attorneys? So why do we need so many attorneys?
I mean, you can have one attorney do all transactions. Do the transfer, the bond, and the cancellation. You can have 3 different attorneys. So in a transfer, mostly it's 3 attorneys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 processes. So it's
Yeah.
the transfer, it's the bond, and it's the bond cancellation. That all gets lodged simultaneously. All those separate documents get lodged simultaneously at the deeds office for registration. Yeah. So basically that's what happens. But to answer why is it so expensive?
Please.
Well, I'll say this, right? I'm not a conveyancer, right?
Yeah.
I'm a notary, but not a conveyancer. I do want to write the conveyancing exam.
Please, we need
That
more
exam
work.
is difficult. Oh, let me not say it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pass rates, I mean, we're looking at 2%, 3%, 3%, like in each province. It's very low, right? It used to be 1 paper. I think it used to go for like 6 hours. And now
that's what you're paying for, guys.
And now they've broken it down to 2 papers. One, I think, is 4 hours, and the other one is 2 hours. So it's 2 different papers. Yeah, but the workload is a lot because remember, we do now the attorneys that handle the transfers, they're called conveyancers, right? Yeah. So obviously the attorneys that are cited in your OTP, you need to make sure that they are conveyancers because there are a lot of attorneys who are pretending to be conveyancers.
Fly by nights.
And then, then there's a lot of issues that happen. I've got a lot of cases where transfers don't go through. And then, monies have already been paid. And now there's no, the lawyers have run away or they're giving him stories. So I think it's very important that the parties, not just the seller, the parties know who the...
So is there a way of the banks verifying the attorneys? Because if now I'm taking out a bond and money needs to move into escrow to the transferring attorneys, do the banks verify that, or they just go by, the seller asked for this attorney and that's who we're paying to? So
the seller gets to choose who they want, which attorneys will deal with the transfer. The bank will appoint attorneys that are on their panel. So to be on their panel, they would have done their necessary due diligence on each firm. They would ask you to submit your LPC documentation, your law firm documentation, your admission certificates. So your admission to be a conveyancer. They won't put you in there if you don't have conveyancing personnel in your team. So that's how the banks would know. After that, I mean, that's what they do. So just getting back to why it's expensive. The exam is a problem, as I've said. So you literally have to give up almost a whole year of your life in preparation of these exams.
But come on, you write the exam once, you transfer 100 properties and you're making so much.
And remember, you must also note that it's not just Lindiwe Vilakazi, the property. There's deceased estates, right? There are company thingies, there are also insolvent estates, There's a whole lot of things.
Yeah, there's
divorce,
a whole variations,
when people are getting divorced, so now maybe the half share of the one spouse is being transferred to the other person. You need to know all those processes. And each process has its own type of wording, the application. It's got its own type of, there's like form. And we need to know how to write that form. Like if you give me a piece of paper, I must be able to write the whole form out. I mean, yes, now we've got, templates and what, but in the exam, you don't have that, right? So you need to know how to write from scratch a title deed, for instance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's expensive. If you look at a title deed, it's a lot of words, right? A lot of pages.
In essence, I think I just put it down to, lawyers are a business themselves.
Yeah.
They need to keep the lights on. But one thing we do need to note, there is regulation around how much can be charged with regards to the fees for transfers and so forth. But, it's expensive to study. They need to pay they're indebted. They're paying their student fees, number one. Yes. And also they are a business. I think a lot of people feel that it's expensive, not necessarily because it is expensive, because also there's tax that's embedded into all of this, right?
Yes.
So government also gets their fair share in all of this, which I think this is what people don't also understand, that there's quite a lot in the billing of these fees. I think the reason why a lot of people believe that this is expensive is simply because they are unaware about the fees. I'm one of them. When I bought my first property, I just thought, they say this is how much they want. You ask the bank for that and the bank says this. I didn't realize that there was going to be other costs involved. So things like if the bank doesn't give you 100% bond, now you have to put a deposit on that. And the deposit can be anything from like 10 to 20%. Now, if you're paying 10 to 20% of like $1 million, that's quite a lot. And then on top of that, when you are buying, nobody mentions to say, oh, by the way, please put some money away because there's going to be these other fees to register your bond, to transfer the property into your name and so forth. Because it is a shock, I think that's why people feel that it's expensive. It's expensive to have a 30,000, 100,000 rand bill if you have not budgeted for such, right? Definitely. But if you knew going into it, the whole process of what's going to happen, I don't think it's as shocking, and I don't think the perception would still be that it's expensive. So a lot of the time, I think people feel that it's expensive with these attorney fees simply because it's a shock, it's a surprise, it's something that they never factored in prior to buying.
The conversation of property transactions, I try to put bullet points on the discussion points, different points to speak on. And as you're speaking now, I've got different questions.
It has veins, this thing.
So you mentioned something that's also very important, the tax.
Yeah.
So the duties on property transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the difference between transfer duty and the transfer fee.
That's another one.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people.
And they dupe a lot of people because these agents will be like, no transfer duties and stuff. And you're thinking, yes, I don't have to. And they still send you a 50K bill and you're like, hey, bo, I thought you said no transfer duties.
So just explain that. And also the transfer duty. When do you pay transfer? Why are we paying transfer? Like, what are the...
Why are you asking me? I'm not that. I just know that we pay.
Yeah. Okay. The difference between transfer duty and transfer fees.
Okay. So the one is essentially the duties are paid to government, right? Okay. So it's same as when you paying custom duties when you importing certain things. Guys, government has their hand in everything. They need to keep this regulated. And remember, again, part of that, the work that government also has to do, they also have to document who now owns this property, when this property was transferred from this owner to that owner. That all comes at a cost because there's staff, there's people that need to actually then administer and administrate this whole situation. So that's where the duties then come in. The duties are strictly going through to government. Now the transfer fees, that's where the attorneys are taking their portion of the monies. And that part, the transfer duties and transfer fees, as mentioned previously, it's regulated. The duties are obviously VAT informed and all of that. And with the attorneys' fees, you literally, thank God for technology these days. Just Google it. You can find out. And this is where people also just don't know. You can shop around. You don't have to accept the attorneys that you're given by the estate agents and the seller. You can negotiate with them to say, hey, I actually know Mtutugo Mgeba and he does this, or certain conveyancing attorneys and they do this, and you can get a discount from them, as long as then everybody's in agreement to say, hey, it's legit, they registered and all of that. Then you can actually negotiate your transfer attorneys so that at some point you can negotiate the fee that they're charging. But there is a parameter, there is a set fee that they do charge. Some do add a little bit more. I don't know, maybe because they give you tea and coffee when you come to the office. But you are allowed to negotiate. And every one of my properties, I've always negotiated the fees. I've never just accepted that. The first one, I think I didn't negotiate because I didn't know. I just paid. But all the other properties that I've bought since, with the knowledge I gained, I was able to then negotiate and say, well, this is what I can get from this attorney. Shop around, guys. Like, that's up to you to do that, and speak to your seller. Are you stuck with using this person and so forth? If yes or no, and if it's a deal breaker, you can walk away from the deal. Don't sign the offer to purchase until you've spoken to such things.
Definitely. The threshold on transfer duties, I think it was 1 million. If you buy a property that's less than 1 million rands.
Oh yes, that's an important. That's an important factor.
Yeah.
It's what? Yeah, it's 1,000,001 rand now. It's is it 1,000,001? I'm sorry.
So if it's above 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's something.
I can't remember if it's 1.1 million or it's just a little over 1 million, but I'm leaning towards more. I think it does increase year on year, right? So I think at this point it's about 1.1 million. So that threshold then that's where I guess your duties are still going to be paid. That one you're not going to run away from. So sometimes if you're buying a property that is close to that threshold, right, where now you can avoid paying transfer fees on that. Transfer duties, right? I meant to say transfer duties. Yeah. If you can avoid the paying of the transfer duties because the asking price is 1.2 million and there's certain defects or whatnot that you can then negotiate to say, actually, can this be, this is my offer. Offer it at that point, at that threshold, so that you can then avoid paying those duties on that. So government has tried to make it easier. It's the whole gist of trying to open up the market for people in being able to access and own property. Yeah. So that threshold speaks to the lower LSM and speaks to affordable housing and so forth, so that you don't have that extra cost, and government is just giving you that tax break to say, if you buy within this threshold, then you don't have to be paying these fees. And like I said, negotiate if you can get it down to that. But you're not going to negotiate from like 2 million to 1.1. Yeah. It's unlikely unless there's really something really wrong with that property. But yeah.
Okay, that's good. And also, so the transfer fees, transfer duty. Okay. So now I signed it up.
And there's a difference. There's transfer fees, there's transfer duty. Transfer fees goes to the attorneys.
The fees it's not a flat rate. So
it's not a flat rate.
If I'm buying a house for 500,000,
it's tiered.
It's got a rate, and then if I'm buying for 1 million, it's a different rate. Yeah. But as you said, there are calculator regulators on online, and everything is regulated by the LPC. That's the Law Society for Attorneys. So there won't be ridiculous fees. If they are, you can charge.
And this is why I say people use the internet, use the internet, because just because it is regulated and there is like a threshold or whatever of what they can charge and so forth, does not mean that they're going to charge that fee exactly. There's been times where I've seen certain transfers where, let's say the registration fee, because there's plenty of fees that go into that, there's a fee that is regulated to say it's 7.5 within this tier of how much you're buying the property for, and you find that the people are charging you 17, 15K for the same thing. You have every right to ask why has there been more monies loaded, and this is why I'm saying, even before you sign that OTP, think about these things. Let it never be a surprise again that, I didn't know that there was going to be transfer fees. I didn't know that there was going to be deposit required. Before you sign the OTP, understand what you're getting yourselves into, so that it doesn't become an expensive exercise and nothing is sort of kind of like a surprise or a shock to you. And do your due diligence, like go online and say, when buying a house of 1,500 rands, what should I expect the transfer fees will be? And the nice thing about like these search engines, when you're looking, these property search engines now, they actually will give you a gist of more or less what to expect. When you go down and those sites, go down there and see, oh, I'm going to be paying this much per month. It also says right under there, this is the once-off fees that you're going to be paying. Those once-off fees, these are the fees they're talking about, the transfer fees and transfer duties. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I actually want to get back to the OTP. I actually want to wrap up this OTP part. I want to get to the exciting part of investment. How do I make money off my property, right? But I've signed the OTP now. Everything's right. Everyone's happy. Now it's financing of this property. I mean, yes, there's cash sales. If I've got R1 million and the property is 500,000, I've got the money, I can buy it, right? So now there's also bonds. We spoke about bond attorneys now actually getting a bond. You mentioned something earlier, like, some point banks would give you maybe 90% of the loan and then you have to source out the other 10. So how does one get a bond? Like, how do we go about getting a bond? What are the processes? Are there people that we can use to help us get a bond?
Listen, with the, what did I just, sorry.
Bond originators.
So what we're speaking about now, and I want to reiterate, right now we're purely speaking on the buying process. And I'm emphasizing buying, right? We're just buying at this point. We're not investing yet. So with regards to getting your bond, there's bond originators that you could approach. I mean, 9 times out of 10, your attorneys, not your attorneys, but your real estate agents would then engage their affiliated bond originators. So the bond originators are literally the people that do the shopping around for you. You are able to find the bond for yourself. If you've got a great relationship with your bank, right? And you've got a private banker and whatnot, you can literally approach your bank and say, hey, listen, I'm planning to buy a property. Usually approach them prior to that. But you can then call and say, I'm looking to buy a property and this is how much I'm looking for. I'm going to be making the offer soon. You can get the bond yourself, but there are bond originators. And in my experience working with people, I've tested it both ways. I've gone directly to the banks as the buyer, and I've used at the same time bond originators. The bond originators have a relationship with the banks that you might not have. And that's not to say don't shop around yourself either. Because you just might be able to either match what the bond originators can do for you, which if you do, honestly, just let the bond originators take over the bond registration for you, because they take so much of the admin work and all the hoo-has. And there's some really fantastic guys out there. I really wish I could mention them by name, but there's some fantastic bond originators out there who literally, they handhold you. So this is also part of what we do at Kelgro. We basically handhold you through the whole process of your investment. So allow the bond originators to do what they do. They shop around, they get back to you as quick as possible. They are incentivized by the banks. They've got the relationships with the banks. So you might find that half of the time they come in at a cheaper interest rate. So essentially what you're wanting with the bond originators is that sweet spot with the interest rate that you're going to be paying, because you go directly to the bank and they say, yeah, we'll give you this at prime plus 2. Bond originator comes back and says, oh, we'll give you a prime minus 0.5. And that could be the difference between you affording the property or not affording the property. And I always say to people, and I'll speak to this, what the bond originators also do is they pre-qualify you. So prior to you then now even going out. And a lot of estate agents, actually this is quite crucial, a lot of estate agents now do not entertain anybody that is not pre-qualified, because they are tired of time wasters. If you're just looking around and just window shopping, it's time for them. It's their bread and butter. So a lot of estate agents now do not entertain people who are not pre-qualified. So in order to get pre-qualified, you need to engage bond originators. So when you engage the bond originators, they will ask for your credit score. So you'll give them all the details. They'll pull up your credit score. Having a good credit score factors into what interest rate you're going to be getting, factors into whether the bond that you'll be getting will be 100% bond or it will be then 90%, 80% bond. So it does really factor. So I always say, but before you even start buying, if you're not in good standing or you're just an average, where you look at your area average with your bond, with your credit score, do some improvements. Literally, it can take 3 to 6 months just to get things right. And then do your pre-qualification. And again, I say this time and time again, what you pre-qualify for does not speak to what you can afford. There's a difference. There's a difference. So you can get pre-qualified for 2 million rands, but you do not want to be buying a 2 million rands. Right? Because then you have to factor things in like levies. You have to factor things like municipality rates and taxes. You have to factor in things like HOA, right? Maintenance, right? And also the interest rate that you're going to be paying could play havoc, because today it's 10.25. Tomorrow it's 12.75, and that already is going to kill you, because today you actually qualified and you could afford this repayment on your bond. Tomorrow, when the interest rates go up, right? So always test it. I think the safest thing you can do, always test it. So if maybe the rates today are at 10.25, test how your affordability looks if you added an extra 3% onto that. So test it at 13%. That is like your fail safe to say, even when things go bad with the economy, I'm still able to actually suffice. Do not ever buy as per what you pre-qualified for. That's like you're killing yourself at that point.
Okay. So now the bank approves it. So that OTP stage is done. We got approval. And now we register. We go to, like we spoke earlier, the attorneys now get involved. They call you, sign documents, and then we register at the deeds office. Now I own this property. Yes. I'm an owner now. And I say, hey, I don't want to stay here. I want to make money off this property. Right? So now I don't know. I mean, there's rent, there's all these things. I don't know how to optimize on the situation. So I come to you. I say, hey, I saw you on a podcast. Lindy, please help me. I want to invest in this thing. I want it to make money for me. So what do you do? What are you going to ask me?
I first tell you off. I first tell you off. You are late. Why did you come to me after the sit? You know, but it happens. It happens. Listen, not everybody is going to come across us. Being property consultants, it's not...
it's niche.
It's niche, right? It's not as popular. I think more in the States, you have, in the States and in the UK, I've noted, you have this as somewhat of a norm where people know that there's property consultants. Ideally, how you want to be doing this. And I'm going back to the point I was speaking to earlier. We were speaking about the buying process. Now we're speaking about the investment process. The investment process starts very differently. Before you even go out and engaging estate agents and getting pre-qualified and so forth, consult a property consultant. And the property consultant is the one person that is on your side. I've always said, funny enough, in this country, nobody really is on the side of the buyer. Like we mentioned, the attorneys, the sellers appointed by the seller, the bond attorneys, that's the banks. Everybody here, including the estate agents, is out to make money, and you're the sucker. I mean it. You're the sucker. So if you are not doing your due diligence, everybody will try to get as much out of you as they possibly can. Right? You paying for the transfer duties and transfer fees, not the seller, right? They have their little commission that they're paying to the estate agent. So now property consultants come in that regard. We're the people that are on your side. We're looking out for you. So you have to start with us before the moment you're like, I think I'm doing well now. I think I want to buy a property. then come to us. So what will happen is if you came to say my business, we do a consultation.
Yes.
I get to find out why do you want to be buying that property? What does it serve? What's the long-term plan? So it speaks to financial planning as well.
Yes.
You're not just buying, now you're investing, and that's the difference between buying and investing. Investing is all emotional. I like that, it looks good. Oh, it's, now I can buy, now I can host, steady yana. No. Investment is different. It's more around the financial planning. What do you want to do with this property? Where do you see yourself with this property in the next 5 years? What is it doing for you financially? Are you trying to get cash flow out of this? Are you trying to build equity? Are you trying to do both? Ideally, you should be trying to do both. Build equity, meaning the property appreciates, meaning that you've bought in the right area, you bought at the right time, you bought at the right price, and the economy is doing well and it's in an area that is appreciating, because those are the things that we also look into. You can buy into areas that seem like they are prime and they are sought after, but when you look at the history of that area and property appreciations and so forth, and if you look at your TPNs and what rental incomes are like and all of that, it starts to not make sense, right? Because there's a lot of areas and places or properties that are hyped, but when it comes to investment, they do not make the cut.
Okay.
You will be in the red. You will buy for so much, but the rental income will be less than what you want, or it will match exactly enough for you to pay your bond. But remember, there's levies if you're staying within a sectional title schemes. There's levies if you're staying within an HOA. There's municipality rates and taxes. There's maintenance. There's all sorts of things, right? And also factor in, there's also other costs, because most times the banks will insist that you actually have life cover.
Yeah.
In order for you to. So now you haven't budgeted for life cover and you've bought a house with so many million and your life cover is coming up to about 1,000 so forth, or 2,000 something, and you didn't budget for that. So we have to look at all of those things. Yeah. And the life cover is just to safeguard, the investments from the banks and all of that, but also for your sake. In the event of you passing away, that life cover kicks in. And this is another thing, you also need to make sure you've taken out the right amount of cover, because there's certain fees and taxes that come. You get taxed even when you die. And you might find that your life cover does not cover it. So if your purpose for buying the property was to say, I want to leave something for my kids, and now you're leaving a debt for your kids.
Practical example, right?
Yeah.
This episode gets aired tomorrow, right? There's someone sitting at home and they're watching, and they're like, the first thing they say, oh, that host in Tutuko is such a nice guy. And then they hear about what you do, right?
Yeah.
So now they have a property in Randburg, standalone.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe 4 bedrooms. It's in Randburg. And this person has met a sugar mama who says, no, come stay with me in Stain City, rent out your property.
Yeah.
So he comes to you and says, okay, my sugar mama says I can go stay with her in Stain City, but I want to make money off this property.
Yeah.
Yes. So now the person has already got this property. He's probably stayed there for a few years. Now they want to make money off it. So obviously they couldn't consult you beforehand. They didn't know you because they didn't know they only just now watched the podcast. Now they're coming to you to say, okay, I want to make money off this thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you came to me. You are going to make money if I can help it.
I thought you were going to say, I'm glad you're watching the podcast.
And you bought in Randburg and not Midrand. So yeah, I can definitely help you.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
There's no water in Midrand, guys. There's just traffic and no water and no furniture, apparently.
Me drink this water. Sorry, this guy's showing off.
Sorry to shade the Midranders, but you're Shamgura.
So right now, buying in Midrand is probably not the wisest thing to do.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's plenty other places around who are also going through. I mean, I've invested in Randburg, and within the first year of investing in Randburg, dude, we were having water outages. We were having load shedding, and sometimes it wasn't even load shedding. This fuse had blown and so forth. So, but historicals, right? Which is what then we do, right? I look into the historicals of an area, which is something that you might not be sort of privy to or might not know to do. So you look at how the area has performed in previous times. We pull out property reports, we pull out area reports, which gives us the gist. And also because we are in property and we work with estate agents, we do know what areas are go-to areas and don't no-go areas, especially when it comes to investing in those areas. But if the rental is there, I mean, people are still paying their rent, and it's Midrand having no water for like a week or however long. So people are still paying rent even though Midrand doesn't have water, right? Because of its locality. If you're working in Pretoria, you're close enough. If you're living in Joburg and working in Pretoria, it's a nice in-betweener. And also lifestyle might dictate that you want to be seen in Midrand and so forth. I don't know why, but there's plenty of places I could tell you guys that you can buy into for less.
So Randburg. So for a start, I'm in a well located area for in terms of investment. Yeah. All right. So that's a good start, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, depending because Randburg is quite huge, right?
Yeah.
There's certain areas in Randburg that I would be like, no. Okay. Well, and there's certain parts where it's like, okay, makes sense, right? Okay. So location. And when I'm saying location, it's like location, and then that's your spot, right? Then you hit the sweet spot, and your affordability as well will speak to which part of the sweet spot when we're speaking location you can invest in. Not to say that other parts of Randburg are not worth investing in, but maybe the sweeter spot might be a little bit more prime in terms of an investment. But the things that I would require from somebody, now you've bought into this property, send me your plans for this property, send me your municipality statement for this property. We need to pull out a zoning certificate or zoning documents for this property. And then, look into that, because from the plans, I can then see what's possible with the property after having looked at the zoning, because then you also don't want to be building or doing alterations or anything like that to the property that might not speak to what's regulated or what you can and can't do. So you see a lot of people now are doing Airbnbs, but a lot of them are actually operating illegally because that's prime residential area that is not regulated or does not give permissions or consent for you to do so, to do such. Some, and luckily, and this is where we look at it when we're looking at how much more further investment you need into the property. So you'll find that an area does permit for a guest house, but it will limit you to say you can only have 5 rental units, right? And you can't have more than that. So that's the sweet spot. You need to know how to read, because also the zoning document, they're a bit of a if you don't know how to read them, or you don't know how to, you might just miss, and it's a huge ass document. And you'll find that within your ward, you might be in Randburg, but within your ward, within your street, that's not permissible. And you might say, but no, that neighbor, you get what I mean? They're in a different vibe. So essentially, we sit with you. We find out what's your goals. Why are you buying? Why are you wanting to rent out? Okay, your sugar mama's taking care of you. Okay, so what would you like to get out of this? And based on that and the information of that and what you are able to either further invest into the property, if you're not just wanting to put normal tenants, then we look at your affordability in terms of, this is how much I've got. I want to do something with this so that I can earn so much, or so that I can build this or do that. Then that's how we take care of it. So now then that speaks to the investment part. I
guess the first thing a person would want is to kill off the bond as soon as possible.
Not necessarily. Oh, that's another talk. I can hear them, those property TikTokers and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Hey, they're the same people that will tell you rent, don't buy, don't rent, and all of that. I just think man, different strokes for different folks. We don't all have the same goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes sense to rent. Sometimes it makes sense to buy. Sometimes it makes sense to just pay off the bond so that you're not paying on interest. But if the property is paying itself off, right, and giving you some cash flow, hey, other people's money, why then take your own money and put it into that property when you could take that million that you have, or 2 million that you have, and invest in other property which will bring you even more income? It's very contentious this topic, because some people will tell you this is how you should do it, others will tell you something else. As a property consultant, I have to speak to your situation, your circumstances, what your pockets can afford, and what it is that you want from this property. So in that regard, there is no one size fits all when it comes to property. So when people are spewing things like rent, don't buy, they probably have a lot of rental properties that they want you to be the tenant to. So that's why I'll push like, yeah, man, rent. Buying is, right? And if a person's saying buy, don't rent, they probably have an estate agency that they can benefit from you buying from, and all of that. Everybody has their own path when it comes to investment, and this is why a property consultant matters. We look at your circumstance, we look at where you are, we look at your pockets, we look at what you want to do in future, we look at your family dynamics, who you want to be leaving, how you could be leaving this property to the people that you're leaving it to, if in the event of you passing away. So there's a whole lot of factors. There is no one size fits all when it comes to property investment. We also do construction, so we specifically work with property investors. So if you have a property that you wanting to be converting, we specialize in interior architecture, where we literally will convert what you have into something else that will gain you income. We also do build from scratch if you've got a piece of land that you want to be doing, but strictly for investment. So I'm not going to say to you, just build a mansion with your pension. I'm going to be advising you on what you can do, because we look at the area, what's possible in the area, what sort of income you could be making, what other people are doing, because there's a lot of developers around now who are doing things. And we, if we can do that with your land or your piece of land or your property, then that's what we advise. So for once, you actually have a contractor, a construction contractor who understands investment. And that's where we basically fit in terms of working with property investors. Yeah, no, it sounds exciting. Right? It is. It sounds no exciting. Two investments are the same. It's much better than my job. You know what I'm saying? What? Divorces and the likes. Much better than my job. So, okay, no, I think that's time, right? Yeah. But thank you for coming again. It's a pleasure. Like I said, this discussion can go on forever, right? Because there's so many aspects to it. The investment side and all that. But for now, in closing, how can people get hold of you? Where are you? I know you are everywhere. Yeah, so how can we get hold of you? I'm basically Lindiwe Vilakazi on my LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, guys. I'm not on any other socials. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me up, DM me, follow me, or connect on LinkedIn. Our company website is www.kelgro.co.za, or you can email me. It's lindy@kelgro.co.za. Contact number is 074-933-4435. That's 074-933-4435. And that's your business number, right? That's my business number. But unfortunately on my LinkedIn, it's a very long name. Specifically Lindiwe Vilakazi. Look me up. And one last thing. I know I'm going to keep saying one last thing. But can you give us an example of a project that you guys have done? Just an example, So because I think we're talking about what you do. We just ended the year with a client who bought in the urban redevelopment zone. That's in Kenilworth in Joburg South. Okay. They bought an apartment block, and we were able to redesign that apartment block and get out 8 units out of that. Within 3 months of finishing the work, they were fully tenanted. And so you he had an apartment that was already... So we basically helped him to source the apartment, and we found the apartment. We did the design and the plans for it to converted. It was actually an abandoned and hijacked building.
Okay.
So we basically gutted it out, redesigned everything, and managed to cop out some really lovely rental units for that area. Yeah. And within 3 months, like I say, they were fully occupied because they were good. And that's a lot of what we do, redevelopment of existing properties and making them into multi-lets.
Right. Okay.